You were actually born to create, but somehow you ended up doom scrolling in the middle of the night, feeling completely miserable and empty. But the answer to this problem is way more difficult than just, well, you have no self control. There are a lot of things to say, so I'll try to start with something that genuinely excites me, which is creativity in general. There has been this myth which neuroscience tried to destroy for decades that creative people and analytical people use different sides of their brains, and this is not what's happening in your brain at all. The prefrontal cortex is running executive functions, holding the vision together, making 10,000 micro decisions. The hippocampus is pulling from memory, and not just from recent memory, but things that you experienced years ago, patterns you absorbed and forgot about them. Between all the lobes of your brain are created thousands of connections. Plus, the amygdala is always responsible for emotions, which control a good part of your creative process. Even the cerebellum, which we spent decades thinking was purely for physical coordination, turns out to play a role in creative cognition. In the wonderful book, The Runaway Species, the main activities behind creativity are described as breaking, blending, and bending. And if you think about any artistic piece or literature piece or even science, then you can see how the scientist or the artist behind the piece successfully broke, bent, and blend certain pieces to compose something new. Let's take, for example, Shakespeare, who took inspiration from old Italian stories and bent them under a philosophical perspective, broke them into pieces, reassembled them, and then got something completely different. And of course, I won't even go ahead with examples of art pieces like those of Picasso or other deconstructivists. The name speaks for themselves. But creativity is not something that belongs only to extremely talented and genius people. It's actually something that every one of us has inside. Creativity is like a standard feature of a human brain, and we are the only species that actually has something so huge and incredible like that. But this is also what makes the part that comes next so disturbingly terrible. There is this wonderful opening piece in Pale Blue Dot by Carl Sagan, which describes that all technology that we invent are serving our survival and our creativity actually in a certain way. But the same technologies that were supposed to amplify our capabilities and our creativity, that were supposed to help us to connect and to create altogether, those same technologies quietly got reassigned. There are mainly two systems in our brain. But when we're describing the two systems, we're not meaning that there is a specific part here and here. This is system one and this is system two. No, those are just two systems of thinking where, again, maybe even all of your brain gets involved. The system one is the one that helped survive your ancestors. When something happens, something explodes somewhere, and you just started running. This is logical. This is not a rational system. You just you just use it to survive and to react as fast as possible. It's more emotional. It doesn't have any rationale behind its working. But the system two is way more different. System two is what you need to think deeper, to create connections, to blend, break, and bend. So to create something actually valuable despite emotional, because of course I'm not denying that the emotional part in the creation of especially artistic pieces is incredibly important. But to create an intellectual depth to it, which will make it survive for even longer, probably, you really need the system two. Of course, in a perfect world, the system one and the system two are working together and everything works perfectly. It's a synchrony, it's orchestrated, and everything is fine. But where have you seen the perfect world? Maybe, just maybe, in the shorts and reels or anything of your favorite influencer. This world, especially this world, is not based on system two. In the world of your favorite influencer, everything is based on system one. No platform was ever built for system two because system two is exhausting. And every notification, every layout design, every optimized UI was created for system one to be intuitive, to be fast, to be interesting, engaging, and emotional. And marketing always relied on your system one because it's fast, it's reactive, and it's cheaper to hijack. In fact, the term engineering of consent was invented by Edward Bernays, just a case, the nephew of Freud, in 1920s. The main idea was that you don't change people's behavior through just informing them. Information is slow, it's difficult, and you really need system two to process a lot of information. Instead, what you should do is going to play on more natural instincts like belonging, status, or fear. The blueprint in working on system one stayed the same. Something that changed is the quantity of tools and strategies that are used in marketing to influence you, despite, of course, the classical ones, which are social proof, scarcity, and reward systems, about which you already probably know, and thousands of people talk about them. Obviously, thanks to AI algorithms, which are always improving, the quantity and quality of data about you and me, basically, is way more detailed, and it can help a lot in analyzing and selling better and faster. Demographic segmentation give way to psychographic profiling, and psychographic profiling give way to behavioral datasets. A dataset is a record of what someone did under a specific condition at a specific moment. Of course, they don't take in consideration any moral or ethical values. Moreover, the algorithm doesn't optimize for truth. It optimizes for sales. And for someone working in marketing, it is pretty obvious, but for people using general media platforms, of course, it is not optimized for feelings classified as high arousal, as fear, anger, or excitement. And they don't see the difference between positive excitement and negative excitement. They just know that they need your emotions, once again, to bypass your system 2 and to involve your system 1. And it's not like the algorithm is malicious or it's just bad because it decided to do so. The algorithm is once again just a tool used by people. The algorithm and AI doesn't have a problem with you. But global marketing, well, they do have a problem specifically with you. And taken all together, this system playing on your emotions and on the capabilities, on limit capabilities of your brain, is called Neuro-Capitalism. Or well, I would actually prefer to call it Neuro-Slavery, but maybe it's a bit too aggressive. Neuro-capitalism refers to a phase of capitalism in which human cognitive activity, attention, emotion, memory, perception, and decision-making become a direct site of economic extraction, control, and value production. It describes how digital technologies, networks, and neural interfaces integrate with the mind and body so deeply that life itself becomes economically valorized. So in a certain way, it's like talking about sustainability again. I'm really trying to make this term media pollution more popular. It's like treating a forest like we used to treat the forest. Let's take all the resources from a forest until there are no resources anymore. With global ecology and just general pollution, we managed to build a framework and to somehow control it. For the media pollution, we still don't have an actual framework. I mean, there was the EU Act about AI and about several things, but the problem is that the majority of companies and brands are just trying to bypass the laws created by the European Union or other acts. Well, there are some laws which are easily transgressible because the damage which is made to our brains is not emphasized enough still, and it's something unacceptable and something quite crazy in my personal opinion, of course. Dopamine detoxes are extremely popular nowadays, but completely inefficient. There is no such thing as dopamine detox, also because dopamine is something we need in nature. Going into dopamine detox might only lead you to a negative reinforcement loop, meaning that after the detox is ended, you're more likely to binge and ingest even more toxins through doom scrolling than you could before. Toxins produced by media pollution, as the cortisol loops and emotional outrage, they are having a direct impact on every one of us, on you. They do have this impact. They are one of the many reasons why, even if you are a perfectly normal human being, a perfectly wonderful, creative, nice human being, at 2 a.m. at night, you are stuck in the dopamine loop, in a cortisol loop, in the outrage economy, in buying things that you don't need at all. If you are constantly in this cortisol dopamine spikes, and your brain goes into survival mode. And guess what? When you are in a survival mode, it's normal that you don't have the power to create something, to really be what you have to be, the creative and amazing human being that you were meant to be. The brain under continuous stress attack can't perform all the orchestration of the creativity system. And this is not inside you. This is not because you're broken or because you are ADHD, because I see it, and it makes me extremely angry seeing people continuously saying, "Oh, I'm so ADHD." No, you're not, because ADHD is almost a structural problem in your brain. It doesn't just like appear like this because you wanted to be curious and you wanted to explore a lot of things. So, you're ADHD. No, you're not. Okay, you are completely fine. You're not broken. It is just a very bad constructed system made for exploitation, made for slavery, as I was already saying. And at a certain point, the neuro-capitalism started to be mistaken for the creative economy. It is unacceptable. And this is the point where I was supposed to turn into despair. But honestly, as someone who is trying to work in marketing, even though it is so bad, and I mean, it is very bad, and also trying to work on the intersection of design, creativity, marketing, and neurobiology too, because it's so interesting. How can you ignore it? I see that there is hope. There is a way to get out of all of this. We need to shift our attention, and again, attention, from extraction to expansion of the human mind. Instead of trying to take, let's try to expand. Let's try to inform, even though they say that the system too is so difficult and so exhausting and so hard. The idea of creative economy is not that, because the new generations, they are always more creative, and we don't like to accept the fact and the idea to stay in a closed office without hope and without any particular thought, just executing orders. No. And despite the fact they're criticizing us for it, it's a good thing. You are being criticized that it's lack of self-control and that it's your generation that doesn't want to work or doesn't want to do things. This is not true. Again, this is absolutely not true. So the next time when you catch yourself in the middle of the night, not doing anything, just doom scrolling, tell yourself in the moment you're feeling like being absorbed again by this terrible machine of money, that you are here. And in design, especially in user interface design, understanding where you are is the first step towards understanding where to go. And you can go there. You can arrive there eventually. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. We can all arrive to a better system, to a better creative economy, which does not exploit our brain, which does not create media toxins, if we do it all together and if every one of us makes this step towards a better future. Please remember that you were born to create, and please do so. Think about it. For example, your grandma's recipe, how she didn't feel like it was good enough, or when one of the nephews asked for something more sweet and the other one for something more crunchy, and then she tried to experiment and generated new recipes with different ingredients. Maybe sometimes it was just because of scarcity. Maybe she didn't have the right ingredients at the time, so she tried to substitute something else. It's just the same process. Recipes are the blending, baking, and in this case, actually also baking. It's easier and cheaper to hijack. My tablet just fell. I'm reading from my tablet, and it just fell. And so I don't have the script anymore. And it's not just by saying, just by saying, and in design, especially in user interface design, on which I had to work for a very long time, and it was awful. And in design, think again about it. Think about the fact that it was constructed by evil people. Think about the fact that it was designed, it was constructed. So what?